Let me ask you now more broadly about the FBI and DOJ. President Trump has launched investigations into many of his perceived political foes, including former President Barack Obama, New York Attorney General Letitia James, Democratic Senator Adam Schiff. I'm naming just a few of the people. You have described this as the, quote, weaponization of the Justice Department, which is, by the way, the same criticism President Trump has made about the DOJ under former President Biden. So let me ask you about that. How do you respond to the argument by President Trump that the Biden Justice Department started this?
Well, I think that's just totally inconsistent with the facts. There was a predicate for all of the things, a basis for the investigations, the moves that the Justice Department did. I would ask, those who are in the Justice Department now, those who are in the White House now, because they are married, they're joined at the hip in ways that we've not seen before, where the White House is essentially telling the Justice Department with what to do with regard to its investigatory power. What, in fact, is the predicate that you are looking at? What's the basis for the investigation when you're talking about Senator Schiff, Attorney General James? Certainly, it's absurd, this notion of looking at President Obama with regard to the actions that he supposedly took. There's simply no factual basis to these investigations.
Mr. Attorney General, 1 minute left. You have said this moment is a constitutional crisis. If you believe that, do you believe there's a way forward and a way out of this moment?
Yeah, I think the way forward is through the American people. There are no saviors. The cavalry is not coming. This is up to the American people to participate in the process, obviously through the ballot box, through making their opinions known, by not supporting candidates who will stand for the kinds of things that we're seeing in Texas right now, where they're trying to cheat people of their constitutional rights, their most valuable asset, which is the right to vote. And then once this period ends, I think we have to not only rebuild, but actually reimagine the executive branch and government such that we don't have to go through this kind of period again. Maybe we have to codify norms that in the past we thought people would simply follow. So, yeah, we're in a crisis right now, but there is still, I think, a basis for future hope.
All right, Mr. Holder, we covered a lot of ground. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.